Hello and welcome to our webinar on how to future ready your insurance operations. I'm Hannah Moisand, I'm Head of Content and Strategic Partnerships here at EFMA, and I'll be hosting today's session. So today with our colleagues from Accenture and representatives of some of the world's leading insurers, we'll be discussing how to fast track future ready insurance operations and indeed see some case studies directly from our panelists. I'm delighted to be joined today by Jim Reesing from Accenture, Thomas Le Cardinal from AXA Partners, Gareth Friedlander from Discovery Life, and Gabriel Lazaro from Chubb. We'll start off today's discussion by hearing from Jim, who'll be sharing some insights. And as we address some of the key questions with our panelists, we will be asking you for your opinions via our live polls. So please do have your mouse ready to hand and join in and participate. Before I hand over to Jim to share his insights, we'd like to share a short video with you entitled Elevate Every Decision with Intelligent Insurance Operations. So let's take a look. So over to you, Jim.
Thank you, Hannah. Thank you all for being here. I look after or lead our insurance operations business for Accenture and have been working in this industry for a long time. And I thought as we got into this, I might set a little bit of context. The video you just saw sounds really ambitious and really broad and like a call to action, and I think it is. But I'd like to set some context, and I think why do we think things are changing, and I think they are changing very fast in this industry for the first time in a long time. And what do we mean by future ready, and you know what are our clients reporting, and kind of how do we get there? So if I look back maybe 10 years ago, if you look at cost takeout or transformation within insurance, the approach was largely incremental. So it might, within a carrier, you might have some of your back office operations doing one thing. You might have claims doing something else. You might be outsourcing little pieces of claims processing or certain transactions. And the issue is that nothing was done across the enterprise with a single strategy. And so, and the idea was when we get cost savings from these transactions or from these actions, that we reinvested in transformation, and honestly, very little of that money ever went back into transformation. So what ends up with in our carriers is a lot of fragmentation, and very difficult to see end-to-end processes or impact end-to-end processes. Now, if we flash forward a few years when automation started to become more widely available, I think a lot of our clients have implemented automation COEs or worked with partners on automation and looked for task automation. They'd already, gotten labor arbitrage. They've already kind of gotten transactional work done in a more cost-effective way. So the opportunity was, how do you automate some of those tasks and be able to remove FTEs? And I think the core challenge with deploying automation that way was it sort of cemented in the fragmentation. So it made it harder then to step back and relook at a function and look at how do we fundamentally change that function. So then looking back about 3 years ago, I think there was, we started to realize as an industry that labor arbitrage and cost takeout and aren't really the answer. The answer is, how do we improve customer experience? How do we improve business outcomes? And the only way to really drive those is to be able to look at a function end to end and impact the upstream and the downstream components of that function, not just the transactional work. And that means we're looking at, where does the client interact with us? Where are the key moments that matter in the interaction with our customers? And how do we make a bigger impact on those? But we're stuck because we built all this fragmentation and some of this task automation, which some of our clients today are paying us to rip out that automation. So I think, where we find ourselves is a realization that business outcomes and customer experience is what matters, but a legacy of transformation and cost takeout that makes it difficult to achieve. So where when we talk about future ready, if you look at the chart that's on the screen, we look at a process and where does it sit on this chart? And if you look across the enterprise, they're going to sit in different places, but the idea is, how do we move them from the left to the right over time? And when we looked at the research, where we went to talk to 1,000 of our clients, and they self-rated themselves on where they thought they were on this scale, 1 out of 10 insurance companies believe that their processes are in this future ready state, highly automated, intelligent operations. But those 10% enjoy a 2.8x profitability advantage over the rest of the market. So I think that the real storyline here is that in this compressed transformation or broad transformation, thinking about the end-to-end function and fundamentally reimagining it and unwinding that fragmentation isn't just about having a better relationship with your customer, and it's not just about cost takeout for you, it's also about competitive advantage. And so I think there's a real call to action. Over the last year during COVID, when we went into lockdown, I think a couple of interesting things happened as well. One was this idea of proximity, that people needed to work in an office together, they needed to work in the same place, they needed to be close to the customers. And during lockdown, I guess we're all sitting in our home offices for the most part right now still. So we know that that's not true. And I think that's opened up the industry to think about, I could deliver quality work to my customers from anywhere at any time. The second trend is, we had operations centers, and we had customer contact centers, and we had customer service. And when we went into lockdown, a lot of those services, we had challenges delivering them to our customers. And so I think that has kind of opened up the aperture to say, as a carrier, do we want to be in the contact center business? Do we want to be worrying about business continuity planning? Or is that best left to someone else whose business it is? And the third trend, I think, was about speed and urgency. So when we did have those challenges supporting our clients, we partnered, and Accenture, as one of those partners, worked with our clients and did things in weeks that would have taken months or years. And so I think there's a big realignment of expectations around speed and how we can go to market. Several clients of ours were slightly ahead of COVID in rethinking about this end to end, and have taken bold moves in the marketplace to what we kind of call compressed transformation, which is looking across the entire enterprise and working to very quickly and at a large scale move towards that future ready state and drive towards some of these outcomes. And I think it's a call to action for the entire industry. How can we more quickly and more dramatically impact both the bottom line as well as our customer interactions? So I think that's really the context for today's conversation. That's what we're seeing in the marketplace. I think the industry is moving very fast, and I look forward to the discussion.
Great. Okay. Well, with that in mind, I guess we need to move to our first question and our first live poll for today, and that's about end-to-end operations transformation. So all of you, hopefully, pick up your mice and help us answer this question. So now more than ever, is end-to-end operations transformation important? So let us know if you think it's extremely critical, if it's required, or if it's somewhat important to you in your own institutions and in your own experiences. So give you a couple of seconds to make your choices. Okay, let's take a look. What is everyone saying? Extremely critical. I guess that's probably no surprise to you, Jim. So let's have a talk about end-to-end transformation. And could you let me know what does it really mean to you, and why do you think it's become even more critical?
Well, first of all, I guess I'm glad that everybody answered that way, or this would have been a real problem today. But I think for me, if you look back again, historically, what we've thought about is take a set of transactions and how do we get those, what I call MRPT, measurable, repeatable, predictable, transactional pieces of work, and get them done in a more efficient way, whether that's in a lower cost location or through better efficiency. And so I think we were in that business too 5 years ago, saying, hey, give me that transactional work and we'll make it cheaper and better for you. But the limitation is there are upstream processes and downstream processes, and particularly touch points with our customers, that using that transactional approach, it doesn't allow us to impact those. And if we can transform those transactions and make them better and automate them as much as we want, but unless we look at the entire claims process, or from first notice of loss till we close a claim, we're not really solving for the customer, and we're leaving a lot of cost takeout on the table because those other touch points might need to be transformed. The processes could be improved. We could give better experience to our clients. And I know a lot of my colleagues here have worked on innovations in these spaces targeted at how do we improve the customer experience. So again, I think right now it's the answer is to fundamentally reimagine the function from the ground up, and that's challenging, and it's maybe bold, but I think that's what we're seeing the leaders in the industry doing.
Leaders such as Thomas and AXA Partners. So Thomas, you're here today to share a little bit of your experiences on end-to-end customer experience, and to tell us a little bit about the MAX project, which congratulations once again, won an award at the Innovation Awards just a few weeks ago. So I'll leave you to fill us in. Let us know.
Yes, so I would like to start first by thanking Efma, of course, of giving us this wonderful award, which pleases everybody that worked on this project. Yes, I think end-to-end operations transformation is really important. And when we decided to experiment conversational artificial intelligence, we decided to sit down with our partners, the startup Zion, who leverages IBM Watson technology. We just didn't want to replace the existing process with conversational artificial intelligence. So we walked through the whole customer journey and saying what this technology could benefit to our customers. And in our motor assistance business, we think that the first point of contact is very important, to stay a human point of contact, where when people have a car breakdown or even worse, a car accident, they need someone on the phone to reassure them that everything will be fine, explain them the process. But then after this very reassuring first call, we think that conversational intelligence can take the lead. And we decided to engage the conversation with the customer from this point on WhatsApp or SMS, or whichever the customer prefers, in French or in Dutch, as this experimentation was done in Belgium. And so Max, our virtual agent, is much more than a chatbot where you can only answer by yes or no questions. He can hold a human-like conversation. You can ask questions out of the main process. The main process is Max is going to ask the question, has the towing truck arrived? And if the towing truck has not arrived, the customer may ask other questions. When the towing truck arrived, has the repairman managed to repair the car? And if not, is there a replacement car needed? And if there's a replacement car needed, where do you need it? When do you need it? Do you prefer manual or automatic gears? Is there a second driver? And what's the name of the second driver? And when Max gathers all this information, Max is able to book a rental car for the customer. And then he asks for the customer, the rental agency is there. Do you need a taxi to go there? And if yes, Max takes all the information needed to send the taxi to the customer. And then in the following days, Max will keep the customer informed about his car repaired, and if not, he will extend the duration of the rental car. And during all this period, the customer may ask, can my wife drive the car? I didn't ask at the beginning. May I leave the country with this car, or is it not allowed? What if I have any problem with the car? Is it the same assistance company, or is it a different assistance company? Well, there is in fact 70 questions that the customer may ask that Max has the answer. And if at any moment the customer has a question Max doesn't have the answer to, he may transfer to a human agent, of course. And when we reach the end of when the customer car is repaired, Max is informing the customer and is saying you should return the car to any agency of the same brand you wish. And do you need a taxi to go from the rental agency to the garage? And if yes, of course, Max can book this taxi. So you see, Max is once Max takes the lead, he can go all the way to the end, except if the customer wishes otherwise, of course. And the customer response has been tremendous. So we started this last September, so it's almost a year now. Max handled around 1,000 cases per month. So we are almost at 10,000 cases handled by Max today. And the customer satisfaction is very high. We went before Max to NPS of 34 to an NPS of over 70 with Max. So that's just huge. We couldn't imagine. We had an objective which was way lower than that. The objective was to improve, but we couldn't imagine such an improvement. And even our agent gave an eNPS to Max over 72, because in fact, our agents now have more time to deal with more complex cases, and in particular, international cases. Max is dealing with domestic cases, but international cases are more complex. You may need to book an hotel, maybe a plane or a train to come back home. Maybe there's children, maybe there's pets. Well, it's always more complicated when it's international. And our agents can now deal with those more complex cases, not so much stress to get to another call, because Max is dealing with all the domestic calls. So that's the experience we had with conversational intelligence that I wanted to share with you today.
I think I think it's a great example of a couple things. One is implementing technology like that wasn't probably directed at how do we take cost out, but it's focused more on the customer. How do we improve the customer experience? How do we meet the customer where they are, particularly millennials who don't want to pick up the phone and make a phone call? And we're enriching the customer experience, but the enriching the customer experience in this case also drives cost savings in the long term, because you're not having to have phone calls to expensive call centers, right? So it's really serves both purposes through the customer lens.
In fact, on those cases, we had around 15 calls per case, inbound and outbound calls. So people are calling and are waiting with a little music, and now they can just send an SMS or a WhatsApp message to Max and have an instant answer. That's a game changer for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing, as you said, that I reflected on was, this isn't also, when we talk about transformation, we talk about being future ready. It's not, and we talk about end to end, it's not about how do we think about the function and how do we now come up with a strategic vision, and then how do we over time implement that. it's about execution, and it's about getting things done and executing on that strategy now. The technology is there, the opportunity is there, the industry needs to be there to meet them. So Thomas, it's a perfect example of what we're talking about.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, and I guess you touched on it a little bit there as well, Thomas, but it leads in quite nicely to our next question. So, and our next poll to everybody, and that's about humans and technology in the workplace. So, in the last 3 years, what difference have you seen in the role humans play in the workforce? So, do humans do more decision-making activities? Have they are the manual repetitive tasks automated, or have you seen only a very little difference in that? So manual repetitive tasks are automated and the humans do more of the decision making, or is there very little difference? Okay, let's have a look. Okay, so humans doing more of the decision-making activities and the manual repetitive tasks being automated. So Jim, how does automating work impact the workforce mix?
I think it's impacted it more than anything else that we've seen in recent years. I talked about a couple of things, talked about MRPT work, and that's the rule-based work that historically, we've said, let's go find the least expensive labor to do that work. But in reality, it's just work that people shouldn't do. It's the work that people hate to do. Nobody wants to go copy something from one place to another. And it probably 5 years ago, we decided that work we don't want to be done by humans. And when we made that decision, our attrition rate in those functions went from 30+% a year to the low teens, because really part of this is about how we're using our human capability to the fullest extent that we can. And so a lot of that work that was more administrative and more task-based and rule-based had been outsourced historically, and so really the problem was shifted to the outsourcer. But now we're also looking at what's the role in like an underwriter plays. What does an underwriter do in her day? And really 40 to 50 to 60% of that time could be spent on administrative tasks and research and building cases, and not on the brain-based work that they're uniquely qualified to do. So I think we're stretching now beyond the clearly transactional work to how do we take the administrative component of a more complex job and also automate that. So the automation journey is going to continue, and we're going to continue to see more extreme automation. From a sourcing perspective, if I look at Accenture and the work that we're doing for our clients, it's a great opportunity for people. I think there's always that concern, and there was always that worry that what's going to happen to jobs? Are people going to have jobs anymore? And in fact, that's not the case. We haven't lost one job as a result of automation at Accenture. And in fact, we've increased our employee satisfaction. And, as I said, we've lowered our attrition as well. And part of the reason for that is now what we're trying to shape is this human machine workforce. So in our operations business, we're now 160,000 plus human resources, and 78,000 plus robots, right? So the mix is changing, but within Accenture, we have growth and we have lots of clients, so we can now move people into different roles and we can change the work that we do. And what we ultimately want to do is create an expert workforce that machines do the MRPT work, and that humans are doing the brain-based decision-making work. They're interacting with clients or advisors to the business, and also they're training AI, and they're continuing to improve and manage the technology that's making those rule-based transactions work. So there is a big shift in moving from a largely transactional-based workforce to an expert workforce. What does that require? A lot of retraining, a lot of reskilling, and places for people to go use those skills in the marketplace. I think that's easier for the source. We're working with a partner for the partners to execute, though probably more easy than it is for our clients in insurance, because there is also a retained organization. There'll be work that the insurance carriers are going to continue to do because they're either regulatory reasons, restricted clients, work that's large, that where a single person's doing lots of tasks during the day, lots of reasons why you would retain that. And in the retained organization, the same opportunity exists. There are opportunities to automate work, but there aren't as many maybe new places for those people to go. So really critical in that retained organization that we address the work that gets done and how it gets done. And so when I talked about end to end, a lot of what I'm thinking about is part that we leave out sometimes thinking about is what happens to the people when we've automated all the work, the people that are left over within the retained organization. And so I think this is a place where that is going to demand a lot of investment in the coming years. How is that work going to be reshaped? How do we reskill and retrain people? What roles are they going to play in the retained organization?
Excellent, thank you. And now it's time to invite Gareth to share his experiences with us. And another award winner, there's a theme here, from our Innovation Awards a couple of weeks ago. So congratulations again. I can't say it enough. And I was wondering if you'd tell us about the AI quote project from Discovery Life.
Sure, thank you, Hannah, and thank you, Jim, for your opening remarks. Certainly resonated with a lot of the conversations we were having, and really elegantly articulated into a kind of simple framework. So thank you for that. So our AI quote innovation, and thanks to the EfMA and Accenture for recognizing it, was something that really focused on, again, kind of transforming user experience and stakeholder experience rather than the efficiency side of it, although we see efficiencies coming through once again. But we were solving for the problem that exists in our South African market around having a highly complex environment for advisors, with dozens of competitors, each with hundreds of different quoting combinations available to them. And it's really damn difficult for an advisor to know exactly what they are moving one client to, from one company's certain product to the next. There's a lot of complexity there, a lot of different combinations out there, and it's a difficult environment to expect advisors to know exactly how every product from every competitor in the environment works. So there's risk, and also quite a lot of training that needs to be undertaken from an advisor workforce perspective. So what we looked at doing to solve this for our financial advisors is to use AI and particularly OCR technology, train it to be able to read all of our competitors' quotes and policy documents so that it can kind of extract the key information. We then funnel that into a really complex and comprehensive competitor quoting engine that effectively synthesizes over 500 million combinations of quotes that are possible in seconds, and spits out the comparable discovery quote in a matter of 60 seconds. So effectively, the user experience is take a photo of your existing insurance. We've done it across both short-term, long-term insurance, as well as the investment space as well. So take a photo of or upload a policy document of your existing insurance or investment portfolio, run it straight through our AI quote engine. In the background, we do all the calculations through that competitor quoting comparison engine and spit out the comparable quote to you. So you've just taken a picture and kind of pressed a button, and you've got a comparable competitor quote. And that's essentially taken out a lot of the complexity that exists in that entire kind of advice process, really simplified the lives for our advisors, de-risks it for them to a large extent, and makes the process really quick, simple, and easy. We've subsequently then extended that to clients directly. You know, it's as difficult as it is for advisors, it's even more difficult for a client who doesn't know much to be able to navigate the complex environment within kind of the insurance industry. So clients can do this directly now, effectively snap a photo of their existing policy and in a few seconds get a comparable quote directly for them. So that's been incredibly well received in the market. We're now seeing more than 10% of our quotes actually coming through this route, and we're seeing much higher conversion rates in those quotes that have come through this route relative to the traditional routing quoting mechanism that our advisors are using. So yes, I mean, obviously also, you know, kind of unintended consequences creates a lot of efficiencies. We've taken out a lot of, you know, the manual work that we used to do in assisting advisors with what is comparable, what isn't, and all of kind of the work that used to happen in between, and the kind of grudge in the process has been stripped out. So a lot of efficiencies come out of it, but ultimately creating a really seamless journey that in the matter of seconds creates a competitive quote from taking a photo.
Really incredible. What kind of what are you predicting? What do you guys see going forward as far as conversion ratios and, you know, sales from this channel? Do you have a view on the future?
Yes. So I think what we are planning is to kind of integrate this component of the journey into and plug it into other digital components. I think what we're seeing, and I guess it's in line with a lot of the discussions here today, is that you need to increase that conversion ratio. You need the whole process to flow through right to the end. So the next piece that we are currently building is a digital virtual underwriting process as part of this as well. So you can get your quote, but then you want to be able to move from that quote in 60 seconds to be able to go through and activate that in kind of one fell swoop. So we've built a virtual underwriting capability where clients can kind of write through from the quote stage, then chat virtually to a trained medical underwriter in the long-term insurance space that's got kind of really smart reflexive questionnaires built in that uses all the information that we have available for the client, pre-populates it, and then allows the underwriter to have a quick conversation virtually with the client, and you can effectively then go straight through to activation through that process. So we think that as you ensure that each part of the process plugs into the previous one and works as one kind of smooth end-to-end digital process, you'll start seeing those conversion ratios increase even further.
You know, sometimes you see this natural resistance to automation initiatives by the people who are going to be, it's going to impact, or the people that are going to be using it. Did you have that with your advisors as you're talking about this? How did you position it? How did you, you know, get alignment with people in using this capability?
Yes, so not really, Jim. We advisors saw it as a real value add to their business. You know, I think that resonated with them that they are doing exactly this. They're trying to navigate a complex environment. They're looking at a client's quote and they are, you know, nervous to move the client into a worse position. They want to understand exactly what's changing in the quote and make sure that they're not obviously doing the client a disservice. So they're very keen to kind of plug into this technology. We haven't seen much kickback in that respect. I think more about calls for flexibility. You know, so we'll add to the process where they're not, you know, not every advisor wants to quote like for like. but because you want to make it better or add new features, or but it's a great starting point to make sure that you aren't moving the client into a worse position. So that some of the questions came around flexibility, but we're obviously improving it as we go. But no, not too much kickback or resistance from an advisor perspective, because I think it was clear to them that this de-risked and simplified their kind of daily tasks.
Yeah, okay, good. So yeah, I mean, I think that's an example of taking some of that work that would be the hard work and the some of it's the MRPT work off of their plates and making and getting the outcomes of that faster and better.
Exactly.
Yeah. Great.
Thank you. Thanks for that, Gareth. So moving on to our last kind of topic, I suppose, for today, to talk about ways of working on transformational projects. So our next question for you all, what is the preferred way to work on transformational projects? So either to use partners who bring in specialized skills and technologies, or to run the project in-house by building capabilities. So I'll give you all a couple of seconds to think about that one. Using partners with specialized skills and leading edge technologies, or running the project in-house by building capabilities. So let's have a look. What does everyone say? A little bit closer this time around, but still on our first option here, using partners who bring in those specialized skills and leading edge technologies. So Jim, if I may, why should we choose a partner to work with to execute transformation visions, and why not go it alone?
Well, I think the answer is both, really. I think the trick is, how do you figure out what you should go work with a partner on, and how do you figure out what you do yourself? And so I think some of those criteria are: is it brand defining? Is it customer facing? Are you investing in your front office, your customers, and your products, or are you investing in your back office? Those are the kinds of things to think about when you're figuring out whether you're going to partner or not. When I think about some of the processes that we're talking about today, where they're not touching the customer necessarily, and if we are going to, again, I guess, agree on the hypothesis that we need to go bigger and we need to go faster to get to transformation, then working with a partner can be critical for a couple of reasons. One, just from Accenture perspective, we spend hundreds of millions of dollars a year building new capabilities, new technologies, new automation, new AI in these processes, and we can afford to do that because we're spreading the cost across hundreds of customers. So but Gareth or Gabriel or Thomas, when you're looking at investments that you're going to make internally, they have to have an ROI for a single entity. So I think one of the criteria is, if you're looking at certain processes, is it the right place to invest your innovation time, and is it the right place to spend your innovation dollars, or should you leverage third parties technologies off the shelf that are already there and can get you further and get you faster, and then allow you to shift where you're spending your innovation dollars into places like these guys are, right, which is improving customer experience. So I think that's one thing to really strongly consider, and why a lot of clients are coming to us from looking at some of these processes is, let me get that technology. Second question is, how long is it going to take you to do it internally, and can you get can you rely on yourself to get the ROI that you'd expect to get in the business case? And so our customers have a challenge with, they haven't done this before. We're talking about doing things on a broad scale very fast, and so do you have the internal expertise to do it, to know where the bones are buried, where the problems are, what you have to overcome, or again, do you rely on a partner to guide you through that process? And so I think those are two main decision points when you're looking at broad scale transformation. And I think you definitely need a partner, but at the same time, there's some stuff you don't need a partner for, And I think when you look for a partner, the first thing you need to do is identify together. There's 3 buckets of work, right? The bucket number 1 is things you should source, things you should do through a partner. Very clear ROI and reasons, just like I just discussed. Then there's things that should be retained by the client. We want to do this internally ourselves because for a set of reasons that make sense culturally or competitively or for your brand or for your business. And then the stuff in the middle that perhaps it's internal today, but maybe by thinking about it differently, how do we operate a captive? Should we operate our internal captive? Or how do we separate administrative tasks from other roles, and could those be shared? And solving for that bucket as well. I think that's the first thing you do is look at those. And I don't think it's ever the case that a partner's should be coming in and say, I'm going to take over this whole function for you. And then the last place where I think, perhaps it's good to have a partner is, we talked a lot today about the retained organization, and it's hard, right? But if you're working with a partner that has tools and technologies and doing all this automation and transformation in the work that you're sourcing, why wouldn't you extend that same capability into your retained organization and try to apply the same technologies and same methodologies? And then also, if you're working with a partner that is in the business of reskilling and retraining people all the time, could you leverage some of that capability for the retained organization as well to help you reposition your workforce? So, I mean, those are the reasons I think you work for a partner. But then when you come down to specific innovations, like Gareth, you were just speaking about, those are competitive advantage, specific technologies that are making a difference for you and your customer. Those are things I see being retained.
Thank you. Okay, so Gabriel, very pleased to have you with us. Chubb, another award winner. There we go. We've got it. We've got the theme for Chubb as well. Could you share your experiences on your projects and partnerships?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Anna and Jim and everyone for being here. And thank you, Accenture and Efma for the award. So very, very pleased to represent here and be part of this fantastic panel. Yeah, so we are basically, I'm just talking about that. Jim, I like what you were saying, right? I think finding this sweet spot between what is core and it's not core, what you need to partner. So I do believe that industry silos are over, right? And this is not a sum-zero game. It's question of find win-to-win partnerships across your entire value. But if you think broadly, I think it's forecast that 30% of the total GDP is going to be based on platforms and partnerships. And if you look right now, 7 from 10 and the largest companies, there are platforms and ecosystems, and those guys are very vertically integrated, right? They're trying to create their own domain. So finding this sweet spot, what is strategic to you and is to be, your unique value proposition, and then how do you complement that? It's critical and fundamental. And for us, that means for Chubb, that means we are focused on developing partnerships, proposing embedded insurance with partners in their ecosystem or platforms, and we have been investing strategically developing platforms and capability, especially by Chubb, but partnering with many other players that give us a scale, give us muscle, give us capabilities that we don't have to define this unique value proposition to our partners. And basically what we are providing is Chubb Studio, that is a plug and play API or microservices that our partners can embed white label solution inside their platforms and ecosystem and provide a unique value proposition to the end users offering protection needs, right? And if you think about ecosystems in particular, you see all the gig phenomenon, and we are partnering with a kind of income protection or gig protection to provide support to those new kind of workers. If you think about wellness, we are partnering with platforms like Dakadu in Korea, and that provides this wellness platform around life insurance and health insurance. Think about mobility. We are partnered with Uber in many parts of the world, providing insurance based per kilometer or per mile. And if you think about the connected home, we are partnered with many players providing these connected home based on IoT, right? And I do believe that this is the beginning. So we are very excited. I think was Pierre Vivo. I was reading the other day, right? We are at the beginning, and I do believe that every company is going to become a tech company looking forward. And Jim, I think it's not the future; it's now. We agree that this is happening right now, and every tech company is going to become a fintech. That's no doubt about it. Take Apple again as an example, right? With the JP Morgan partnership with the credit card, and this is one of the many examples that we can bring into the table. And then adding protection, if you're a fintech, is just an extra mile to create new relationship with your end user, right? And using data to leverage that, and integrating for a seamless user experience, not only for the servicing and what is more important for the claims perspective, right? And so this is a very exciting time for all of us that we are in this industry. I think that is a fantastic momentum looking forward. We're very humble, but at the same time very proud of what we have built as a platform that is available in Asia Pacific, Europe, and Latin America. We are partnered with the largest platforms, banks, and many players across the different ecosystems, right? And we have the backbone. We are an underwriting company, so we try to co-create products. We are looking for this customer experience. Again, is the 360 view, and even more nowadays when we are the insurance on behalf of a brand, and you are working with a platform or a partner, you know, they are very obsessed with the customer experience. And if you're selling insurance in their behalf, it's critical for them the servicing and claims experience. And then you need to have that at the scale. You cannot reinvent the wheel in each partner. You need to have something that grows. That's why we have Chap Studios, our technology backbone on the cloud. So yeah, so very excited. I think this is the beginning of what is coming. So yeah, thank you for the time, and again, and thanks for the award that we received.
You know, I think it was pre-COVID. I haven't really heard the noise as much since COVID hit. I don't know why, but pre-COVID, this is what we were all talking about, right? Which is InsurTech is coming in, and it's going to disrupt our customer relationships, and it's you know, and does insurance become a utility, and who needs to own the customer relationship? But honestly, it sounds like in your case, you have all the models, right? Somewhere you have the client where you own the client relationship, some of them where you're servicing other brands that have the client relationship. How are you guys thinking about that?
No,
or does it matter?
So very good question, Jim. So I do believe that it will be naive to nowadays to try to get real estate inside the mobile phone of a user. Just having a few minutes a day, is a business by itself. So we are living a digital life. There are fantastic players that have great user experience, products, and values. They already become a platforms, and based on data, we truly believe that we will have opportunities to provide tailor-made products at the right time to the right partner, you know, the right moment to those end users, adding value. And it cannot be the same old product. Definitely, we need to create new kind of relationships with these end users based on those platforms. But yeah, so if you see looking forward, we truly believe that based on platforms, ecosystems is the way to go. At least for Chap Studio, is one of our strategic investments. Yeah.
Really interesting. And you know, Gareth and Thomas, any thoughts on ecosystem and how that is coming into play in your own companies?
Thomas, go ahead.
I'm not sure what kind of ecosystem you're talking about, Jim.
Thinking more about, you know, are you continuing to always directly sell, you know, to your customers, or more selling through channels or other platforms or other you know, user experience based digital platforms, really?
Well, yeah, well, in fact, AXA Partners is already a B2B2C company. So we're selling to Porsche, to Daimler, to American Express, Visa. So we have a little business of B2C, but the vast majority of our business is already B2C, working with partners to sell travel insurance, health insurance, home insurance. We're working also with energy suppliers like EDF in France or ENGIE.
And when you do that, where it's B2B2C, what's the, from an American Express or some of these, clients that you're talking about that you're selling through, what's the critical things that you need to demonstrate to them, as a provider? Obviously it's product and price, but I'm thinking about when we talk about service and we talk about claims, what are they looking for? What has to change for you?
Well, it has to, we have to fit in the very specific needs and provide them innovation which they cannot find by themselves or cannot find elsewhere. I mean, that's the key element when we're answering RFPs to win the RFP, is to have really understood what the customer specifically wanted, just not putting one thing we have on the shelf, say this is the product. They want something custom made exactly for their kind of customer. If you understand these specific needs, and the cherry on the cake is the innovation that can go one step further, that's where you win.
Gareth, any thoughts from you?
Yeah, Jim, I think on our side as well, I think obviously ecosystems become kind of the key buzzword, and I think Gabriel mentioned that kind of 360 client-centric view. We're also starting to think about insurance, in the context of the rest of the financial services, banking, healthcare, wellness, and how you kind of bring it all together. It gives you far more opportunities and touch points, both to speak to your client and create that client experience, but also gather data on your side to understand the client better and price it better, create better experiences for clients. So we spend a lot of time trying to kind of bring those various ecosystems across the financial services sectors together. At the end of the day, insurance is not something tangible that you're selling. So try and make it as tangible as you can through taking advantage of all the touch points that you have available to your clients.
Right, that's right. I mean, they are limited touch points and it's a limited experience. In some cases, client doesn't even know who you are, right? They don't know where the insurance is coming from. So to be able to create a little bit of that relationship and help to increase your retention and help to build a relationship, or at least an experience that continues, helps the relationship continue, it's critical today. Okay, well, listen, all the work you guys are doing is amazing. I'd love to spend more time with you on all of it. Thanks for spending time with us and with me today. And also, I think my reflection is there's a lot of alignment between all of us on what we're trying to do, which is, it's clearly that we need to transform how we're delivering services and how we're delivering operations in order to improve the customer experience in the moments that matter. Cost takeout is a component of that, and we do have to be more cost competitive, but using customer experience as the North Star and then driving transformation from it. So thank you for spending the time, and thank you, Hannah.
Well, thank you, Jim. Thank you, Gareth, Thomas, Gabriel. Thank you so much. I agree with you, Jim. I could ask quite a few more things, I think, but we'll have to save those conversations for another time, unfortunately. But thank you for taking the time for being here. Thank you all for joining us and listening in. Again, if you have any questions, do feel free to send them through to us. We'll be very happy to respond or to pass on your questions to either Gareth, Thomas, Gabriel, or Jim. So please do reach out, and enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, and thank you all for being here today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.